This video is going to look at equations with fractions in them. So we're going to start with an example that we've actually seen in the last section, but just to give us an idea of what's going on here, we've got 4u minus 11 over 3 is equal to 6. So normally in this question, you would probably think, okay, I divided by 3, so I need to multiply both sides by 3. So what we're doing here really is we are multiplying every term in this equation by the denominator. So we're multiplying everything by 3. And what happens is that cancels that for us. So we have a nice regular equation here without any fractions. So our first step is always going to be to multiply every term by the denominator. Once you've done that, you can just go ahead and solve like you normally would. So I'm going to add 11 to both sides here because I've got this minus 11. So add 11 to both sides. Okay, that leaves me with 4u on the left is equal to 29 on the right. Divide both sides by 4. And I get u is equal to 29 over 4. Or if you want to change that to a mixed fraction, 4 goes into 29 7 times with 1 left over, so 7 1/4. But you can just leave your answer as a fraction. Don't worry about changing it to a decimal. Okay, let's look at something a little bit harder now. So you'll notice in this question, the difference is that we have this plus 6 here, okay, that we didn't have before. So when we multiply every term by the denominator, we need to make sure we multiply the 6 by the denominator as well. So in this case, the denominator is 2. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 2. So that's this is like one term here. I'm going to multiply the 6 by 2, and I'm going to multiply this 3 by 2. So I've multiplied every single term by 2. Okay, so in this first term here, that cancels out because I'm multiplying and dividing by 2. So for that one, I'm just left with h minus 4 plus 2 times 6, which is 12, is equal to 3 times 2, which is 6. Okay, now you've got some numbers you can simplify here because I've got h minus 4 plus 12. Well, minus 4 plus 12 is just 8. So this is just h plus 8 is equal to 6. And then I can subtract 8 from both sides. So subtract 8 from this side, subtract 8 from this side. That gives me h is equal to 6 minus 8, which is negative 2. Okay, so I've got h is equal to negative 2. So again, all I've done here is I've checked out my denominator, which was 2, and I've multiplied every single term by 2. And that gives me a nice equation there without any fractions in it, and I can just go ahead and solve it the regular way. Okay, the next step is to look at equations that have more than one fraction in them. So in this case, we've got x over 4 minus x over 7, and you'll notice that the denominator is not the same. So if you try to multiply everything by 4 or everything by 7, you'll see that what happens is you don't actually get rid of any of the fractions, you don't simplify them. So what you have to do is you have to multiply by the lowest common multiple of 4 and 7. So the lowest common multiple is the lowest number that's a multiple of both 4 and 7. So multiples of 4, hopefully you remember this, are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and so on. Multiples of 7 are 7, 14, 21, 28. So the lowest common multiple between 4 and 7 is 28. And then we multiply everything by the lowest common multiple. Okay, so we're going to multiply this first term by 28. So we're going to do 28 times x over 4. And then we're going to multiply this term as well by 28. So 28 times x over 7. And then we're going to multiply this by 28 as well. So everything gets multiplied by 28. Now look and see what happens. If I do 28 times x divided by 4, well, that 28 divided by 4 just simplifies to 7. So actually, I'm just multiplying this whole thing by 7. And in this case, if I do 28 times x divided by 7, well, 28 divided by 7 is just 4. So I'm just multiplying by 4 here. And then this I would have to just multiply out. So what I'm left with here is that first term is just 7x. Okay, the second term is 4x. And then 6 times 28, I'm just going to have to do over here because I don't know that off the top of my head. 8 times 6 is 48. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16, so 168. Okay, so now, do you see how that gets rid of the fractions for you? So I just have 7x minus 4x here, which is 3x, is equal to 168, and then divide both sides by 3. Okay, so I end up with x is equal to 168 divided by 3. Again, I'm going to have to do a bit of working out. I haven't got my calculator with me. 3 goes into 16 5 times, remainder 1. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So x is equal to 56. Okay, so the big difference in this one is because I've got two denominators, two different denominators, what I've got to multiply by is the lowest common multiple, okay, in order to simplify that. Let's try another one with two different denominators. So in this case, I have 3r plus 7 over 2 is equal to r over 3. So my denominators are 2 and 3. So I need to work out the lowest common multiple of 2 and 3, which is 6. Okay, so I need to multiply each term by 6. So I'll just write that in here. 6 times this whole thing. Okay, and if I've got the brackets there, I don't really need to write the times sign in. And 6 times this whole thing. So let's look at how that cancels with our denominators. Well, if I do 6 times something and then divide it by 2, really I'm just multiplying by 3. And if I do 6 times something divided by 3, well, 6 divided by 3 is 2, so I'm just multiplying by 2 here. Okay, so I'll write that out. We've got 3 times 3r plus 7, that's our left-hand side, and then I've got just 2 times r on the right-hand side. Okay, so all my denominators have cancelled out. In order to solve this, then I'm just going to expand the brackets. So 3 times 3r is 9r, plus 3 times 7 is 21. That's equal to 2r. 2 times r is just 2r. Okay, now I've got 9r on one side and 2r on the other side. So what I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to take 2r away from both sides. Okay, so if I take 2r away from this side and 2r away from this side, I end up with 7r plus 21. And that's going to be equal to 0 because there's nothing left on the right-hand side. 2r minus 2r is just 0. Okay, now I'm going to deal with this plus 21. I can take 21 away from both sides. Okay, and that leaves me with 7r is equal to negative 21. And divide both sides by 7 to get r is equal to negative 3. Okay, so that's quite a long, complicated example where you've got variables on both sides of the equations and you've also got two different denominators. So there's a lot of steps going on in there. So if you've got that down, then you're doing pretty well for now. Okay, one more example, just like this one. Okay, so I've got 2h minus 8 over 3 is equal to 3h plus 7 over 5. Okay, step one again is to multiply, not by the denominator, but by the lowest common multiple of both of those denominators. So the lowest common multiple of 3 and 5 is 15. So I need to multiply both sides by 15. So I'm going to do 15 times this. And I'm going to do, I don't have a lot of room here, I'm going to do 15 times this one. Okay, it might get a bit messy, so I apologize. Try and do some different colors. Okay, if I'm doing 15 times something divided by 3, actually 15 divided by 3 is just 5, so I'm just multiplying this term by 5. And similarly, if I'm doing 15 times something divided by 5, 15 divided by 5 is 3, so I'm just multiplying by 3. But let's rewrite that so we can see it a bit clearer. 5 times 2h minus 8 is equal to 3 times 3h plus 7. Okay, so now look at that. It looks a lot nicer. There's no yucky denominators to deal with. I've just got two sets of brackets now, so I'm going to expand both of those, and then I'm going to solve. So 5 times 2h is 10h, minus 5 times 8 is 40. That's equal to 3 times 3h, which is 9h, plus 3 times 7, which is 21. Okay, I want to get rid of the 9h on this side, so I'm going to subtract 9h from this side, subtract 9h from this side. Okay, 10h's minus 9h's gives me 1h, minus 40. Okay, because we keep that minus 40, nothing's happened to it yet. 9h minus 9h is 0, so I'm just left with 21 here. Now I'm going to add 40 to both sides. Okay, which leaves me with h, so that is 0. H is equal to 61. Okay, and I've already got h on its own, so I can stop there. Okay, right. One last thing we were going to look at, and this is only if you're super confident and you want a bit of a challenge. I'm just going to give you one easy example, and you can see if you can apply this on your own. So these are equations with algebraic denominators, so that means that you've got a variable in the denominator. Now it looks scary, but it's actually the same thing. We just multiply by the lowest common multiple. Well, in this case, we've only got one denominator, so we're just going to multiply everything by 2x. So if I multiply this one by 2x and I multiply this by 2x, let's see what happens. Well, 2x divided by 2x is just 1, so I'm left with 3 on the left side. 6 times 2x is 12x, okay, and to get x on its own, I can divide both sides by 12. 3 divided by 12 is doesn't go in as a whole number, but I can reduce that fraction to a quarter. Is equal to 12 divided by 12 is just 1, so x is equal to a quarter. Okay, so just to recap with all of these questions, the main thing that you need to remember is you need to multiply either by the denominator if you've only got one fraction, or by the lowest common multiple or the lowest common denominator of the two fractions.